Hello, and welcome to Awkward Family Conversations, where we try to help millennials and Gen Z Zoomers figure this adult thing out. I'm joined, as always, with by my daughter, Addie. Addie has been to Boston, I think, twice in her life. And the first time was 10 years ago. And she has been a vegan for some time now, but she was not either of the time we went to Boston. And we ate a lot of lobster and seafood and a lot of other things, but you did not eat the oyster, however. I think that was Callie's thing. So
that was part of why I went vegan. Was I was so freaked out by eating a whole lobster. It was like I couldn't enjoy the food because I was so freaked out by the fact that it was like this animal on my plate.
Well, it took you a little while to get there, but yeah, we ate legal seafood, I think both times we were in Boston. So we were in Boston the first time for the Boston Marathon and the second time to visit Emerson College. So what do you remember about the Boston trip?
I mean, I remember it being so cold that first day.
Yeah.
And we did all like the walking tours and we went to the church.
Freedom Trail, yeah.
Cubicle pews.
That was the North Church.
And had a cool organ. And then I remember it being a lot nicer. And remember Bone Pain. Remember that.
That's right. That was my...
And then I remember a lot of the actual marathon, like we were trying to find you and it was so crowded. So we just eventually ended up camping out along pretty close to the finish line. And you said you were wearing a black shirt and we saw a couple of dudes run up who kind of looked like you. And then we saw a dude with his head all the way down, just having a bad time. And like a mostly black shirt. We couldn't really tell what was on it, but there was a logo on it. And then we all started cheering. And by we all, I mean like me, Callie, Mom, and then everybody around us who Mom had made friends with because they knew we were waiting for you. And then Mom tried to jump the fence and the cop was like, don't do that. So she did not jump the fence.
Yeah, I remember hearing you.
Yeah. And then you looked up and you went, with both fists, but my other arm is currently a little occupied.
Yeah, there she is.
Cannot raise that one. But you went both fists up in the air and then you trudged on. And then we saw that you had your shirt said powered by Rick Reifenberg.
That's right.
Because that was when he was battling, was it leukemia?
It was leukemia.
Yep. And you had Nikki make you the shirt and you didn't tell anyone about it.
That is true. I did not. Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, hello, Ad. That was an extensive Addie trivia today.
It was. With a bonus Rhett trivia. I guess I'll have mine's kind of short. And mine is that I have been vegan for 4 years. But before I was vegan, I really hated vegans. And when my dad would talk about going vegan for health reasons, I would just about go murderous and be like, no, you are prying my crab out of my cold, dead fingers. And as it turns out, no. No. So
can't deny the health benefits of a plant-based diet. Science says that's what it is. So excellent. Well, what are we talking about today, Addie, on Awkward Family Conversations?
Today we are talking about when and how you should ask for a raise or promotion.
Yes, it's this season 3 is the season of work. We are talking about, when is it time to ask for something that you feel you deserve or something that you want. This is going to be tough for me because I have never, ever asked for a raise or promotion. You have been in the workforce, full-time workforce, about 8 months now, 9 months?
10 months.
How many?
10.
10 months. And you've already asked for a raise, so.
Well, a little over a year, actually, because I was working full-time hours at my job before this, but I wasn't technically full-time.
All right. True.
So I didn't get benefits, but I was working a 40-hour work week.
Was that a professional job or was that?
That was when I worked at the daycare.
Oh, the doggy daycare, right. I'd forgotten that you'd done that. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So, so you've asked for a raise or promotion. When you did ask for your raise, it wasn't a promotion, right? It was a raise. What was on your mind? What were you worried about when you did that?
Paying my damn rent.
Well, I meant more about the conversation as opposed to what the what your motivation was, but
honestly, that was kind of how I got through it, because it is so awkward.
it can be for sure.
Really uncomfortable, especially because my bosses really don't like to give out raises.
Well, yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about why that is. And it's not really that they're penurious, greedy bastards. It's just that, sometimes they can be, but there's a lot of structure and a lot of things that they need to check off as well.
So it's definitely awkward, because talking about money is always a little bit awkward, especially talking about money to the person who directly controls your money flow.
Yeah.
Is awkward.
Yeah.
But it was definitely keeping in mind the motivation of like, I don't really have a choice. I need to pay my bills.
Yeah.
Was what helped keep me direct on that, because it is much easier to not be confrontational than it is to be confrontational.
Well, and
not necessarily not like combative confrontational,
right.
But it is like a confrontation of being like, hey, I think I deserve more money than I'm getting, which is, there's like an implied bit of you don't pay me enough on the side of that. So
well, yeah, you don't pay me what I'm worth, or I don't feel like you're paying me what I'm worth. And
yes, which is a little bit of a confrontation no matter what.
It does. Yeah. Confrontation, it doesn't have to be confrontative.
It's not combative.
But it feels, well, even a confrontation implies that there's a differing of opinion, and you don't know that there's a difference of opinion, right?
Yes.
But there might be.
But however, it kind of feels like there's automatically one, because if there was not a differing of opinion, I feel like I would be making what I'm worth.
Yes and no. It's possible, but it's also possible that people are just taking advantage of you, or timing, you're off cycle. And we're going to talk about the HR cycle in most big organizations, and how that ends up creating some issues for people. But I think the other thing when we talk about asking for something like a raise or a promotion is that, typically when we have a transaction, when we have an interaction with anybody, it's coming to the table as equals, and we tend to reciprocate. And this is not a situation where you can reciprocate in the moment. It's kind of like, hey, I think you should pay me more, and I don't really have anything to bring to you in payment, or in compensation for giving me more money or giving me a promotion that typically comes with more responsibility and therefore more money. So I think there's that element too of, it feels like an emotionally unbalanced, or and we're always reluctant to kind of put ourselves in the debt of other people, which is what we sometimes feel like when we say, hey, can you do this for me when I don't have something immediately to do back to you? And so I think that's sometimes how we feel a little bit, how this conversation can feel sometimes. We did do 2 minutes of internet research this week. Got some good information from livecareer.com and careercontessa.com. Interesting websites with some good conversations, good things about both, when are the best times and when to think about asking for these career advancement type things, and also just how to go about it. So, again, I'm going to have to rely on outside experts, because I don't have any direct experience in this sort of thing.
All right. Well, my question to you though is, why haven't you asked for a raise or promotion? I feel like usually the dynamic is women don't ask and the men are the ones who do. So it's an interesting role reversal here.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. There are gender differences and group differences, but we are in the end all individuals, and so I tend to be highly conflict averse. I don't like confrontation at all. I don't like.
You might say it feels a little bit like a confrontation.
Well, it's you're asking for something that isn't. But I'd say the main reason that I haven't asked is I never really cared enough about the jobs. We've talked a lot about how we want to be intentional in your career and think about things and chart a course and pursue your goals, meaning that you'd have to think about it. And I never did that. I pursued interesting work that was easily available. And so, this is, when I talk about work and I talk about careers, it's a do as I say, not as I do, informed by, 35 years of professional experience. But I did not do any of the things that, or I didn't do many of the things that I encourage you and your fellow millennial and Zoomer populations to do. I was not intentional in my career. I took the easy path and the path of least resistance. I wasn't indiscriminate. I just didn't take any old job. But if the job seemed interesting and it felt like it would enhance my intellectual growth, then I took it. I didn't really think about money. I couldn't tell you I couldn't tell you exactly what I made. Most years of my career, I didn't know what my exact pay was. I knew approximately to the nearest $2,000-3,000 a year what it was, but money has never been my thing. I don't care about money. So raises never, as long as I had money and I had plenty of money, raises were kind of irrelevant. And
you weren't working in a field or in a time where you were living shoestring to shoestring was the
well, yeah. When I started my career, I started in Beloit, Wisconsin as a product analyst, I think, or a market analyst, I guess, for an industrial brake and clutch company. But I was living in a place that I didn't pay rent, so my expenses were very, very low, and my salary was adequate. Certainly allowed me to do. But I quit that job after 10 months and lived for like 8 more months without any work at all, because I had very low cost of living. And, when I did find jobs, they always paid enough because I'm very low maintenance. I don't have I didn't own a car I had a family car that was a hand-me-down, but I didn't buy a car until I was married.
Well, also when you were talking about too, the wages to cost of living gap was significantly smaller than it is now.
Yeah, look at our season 1 and those first couple episodes, and you can sort of see where, 35 years ago, the average salary, the average wage for somebody, or the median wage was, you're able to, your cost of transportation, college, housing.
You could support a family with like a median income job. That's not how it is anymore.
No, that's true. Like I say, go back to our season 1 in those macroeconomic charts, and now the median income is consumed by just 4 things: education, transportation, housing, and medical care. And that consumes 102% of the median wage. And so half the people in this country don't make enough to cover those 4 things.
I haven't been to the dentist in so long.
What's that?
That I haven't been to the dentist in like 4 years.
Well, yeah, be careful about that.
I'm going this month. Okay. I put it in the budget.
Okay. But
I had to make sure it wasn't happening the same month that I got bitten by a cat, and it also couldn't happen the same month I had to get my eyes checked. So.
Yeah, but deferred maintenance will always catch up to you, and in a big way.
However, if you can't afford it.
You can't afford it. I get it. But anyway, I'd say, you asked me why I didn't ask for raise and promotion. I'd say 1, I didn't care enough about the work I did. 2, I had a very low cost of living, and what I was making was more than adequate. And I wasn't really interested in title or status.
That's the exact opposite of why I did, was because I was not making enough to live, but I don't want a promotion. I'm very happy where I'm at in terms of job responsibilities. In fact, there's a part of me that's like, I have too much from my skill level. But like, I need to make more in order to live.
Yeah.
But so it's essentially, if you're in my situation, you probably would have asked for a raise, but
I would have either asked for a raise or I would have gone somewhere else and looked for a cheaper place to live.
Trying to be intentional.
Well, yeah, but I wasn't. And again, I was not intentional at all when I was really throughout my career. That's not, and where I've ended up, I think shows that. And, with the benefit of hindsight, I certainly would have benefited by being taking a little bit more control, and steered my career in a direction more to my liking. I think the end of my career here, not that I'm complaining about it, it hasn't been terrible, but I think it could have been better. And I could have gotten much more satisfaction out of my working life than I actually did. So that's why I advocate for people to really spend some time thinking. You're spending 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week at work. That's an awful lot of time, awful lot of energy. You want to maximize that. That's a big part of your life. And if you're just kind of going through the motions or just hanging out, that's a waste. And you can do better.
Sorry, Claire just started like inhaling her toes, like is making herself cough because of how. Claire, hey. You just made yourself sneeze because you chewed too hard on your toes. Do you feel good about yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pets.
she's done.
Anyway,
Okay.
so that's why I didn't ask for a raise or promotion. I just didn't care enough about either money or my job. So sad, maybe not flattering, but true.
Well, then I have a question that's going to be rooted purely in your internet research.
Okay.
When is the best time to ask for a raise?
Yeah, so typically it's best if you're doing it around your annual review cycle. Because in large organizations in particular, it's not quite as true in small businesses, but in large organizations in particular, there's a lot of layers that have to approve promotions and raises. And they all tend to be grouped around, the review cycle. So you'll get an annual review. They'll have budgets for how much collectively people can have in terms of merit increases, how many how much extra bonuses, promotional increases, those types of things. And they try to group those things as much as they can around this annual review cycle. So, when I worked at Schwab, our reviews or our new salaries took effect March 1st. And so, we had our reviews with our employees in the month of February, where we communicated what our decisions were around promotions and raises and things like that. Which meant that we were making decisions and, comparing and leveling the field and rationalizing all of the decisions with discussions. All that was happening in January, which meant that we were writing the reviews in December, which means, you want to be about 3 months ahead of your cycle in terms of when it becomes effective, to be able to get in on the conversation. You want to be having, in Schwab, you wanted to be having those conversations with your manager in December to say, hey, I think I deserve a little bit more in money, or hey, I'd really like to be promoted. You'd want to be having those conversations about 3 months before the decisions actually took effect, because there's that much time where, as I say, there's this rationalization process. I'm a manager. I manage a team of 8, say. We had to rate people and balance raises and all of that within that pool. And then I had, that 8 was a part of a bigger pool of maybe 35. And those 35 was a bigger, part of a pool of 200. And at every level, we had to rationalize and make the case for the people we want to see promoted, for the people that we wanted to give outsized increases in compensation to. And so every company is going to have a similar type process like that, every large company. And so you want to be cognizant, you want to understand that cycle. And the best time to have that conversation is when, is at that point in the cycle when people are asking those questions. The bosses are asking the questions, okay, who should we promote? Who should we give raises to? Because they're going to be paying attention. Now, that's usually, there are always exceptional circumstances and things that happen. And, for a promotion, speaking specifically about promotion, because it is going to be different, promotion versus raise. If you're out of cycle, you want to either be before or as a position that you're interested in becomes available. So you want to be promoted. If somebody is in that position and leaves, that position is vacant, they're likely going to promote out of cycle, because they're going to need somebody in that job. And that's the latest time you want to be raising your hand and saying, hey, I'd like to be considered for that position. And for all the reasons that I think I'd be good for that, but you want to raise your hand and let people know as that position becomes available. Ideally, though, even better is to anticipate that and say, okay, what positions would I be interested in that would be promotions for me? And I need to get ahead of that and start talking with my manager and start laying the groundwork that says, hey, I know there are no positions available right now. I'm not asking for a promotion right now, but I would like to be considered for a promotion if and when one of these positions becomes available. And then I can make my case for it at the time. But you want to raise your hand. You want to let the powers that be, the people who are going to be making the decision about who's going to replace those vacant promotional opportunities for you. You want to let them know that you're interested, because you could sort of sit there and wait to be tapped on the shoulder. And that does happen. It happened to me. I mean, I told you I took no action, but I was promoted regularly throughout my career. But I could have been much I could have had much faster promotion, and I could have probably had a 1 or 2 extra promotions if I had raised my hand earlier and indicated that I was somewhat ambitious and wanted to be part of this team going forward and a more, taking on more responsibility and a bigger role. Then those, that. So when you're thinking about, when's the time to ask? The time to ask is when it's available, but it's totally acceptable, and in fact probably preferable that you signal your intent well in advance, even if there's no positions available to you. So that was for promotions. For raises, there's, you want to be on cycle. You're going to, they're going to give you a raise, and you want to advocate for how much. And the sooner you can engage on that topic, the better, as it relates to the annual review cycle. But there are a couple of other times that you would also, where it would be appropriate to bring it to your manager and say, hey, I would like a raise. And the two that I can think of, one is that you've just done a hell of a job. You just aced a project. Your boss is looking at you. Other people are aware. Addie nailed this thing. That's a really good time to say, hey, I think I did a really great job on this. The feedback I've got from you and other people said I really did a good job on this. Is there an opportunity for me to have, for that to be monetized? Can you give me some tangible, and maybe they give you a bonus instead of a raise, but there's a chance to say, hey, can I get some compensation for it? You always want the raise if you can choose, because the raise becomes part of your base and it goes forward. A bonus is once and done. So it's better to have the bonus or the raise, because the raise in your salary accumulates over time. It compounds, whereas the bonus doesn't. But when you do a particularly good job, so it's not just, oh, I just did what I was supposed to do, let me ask for a raise. It's, hey, I was asked to take on something extra and I did an exceptionally good job. That's a decent time to say, hey, can I get something for it? How about bumping me, 3 or 4% on my base salary to show your appreciation for my good work. The other time I think that you would be okay raising your hand and saying, hey, I would like a raise would be, and I think this is similar to what you had, when you become aware that you are underpaid relative to your peers, especially people that are performing at or below your level. If you're getting paid less than they are, then it's totally appropriate when you find that out to say, hey, I have information that says, John and Betty are getting paid, $2 an hour more than I am, and my performance is at least as good, and so I feel like I should get paid, and that becomes a matter of equity. What's that?
Find out someone who has the same level of professional experience as you and only does rooms, and you've been trained in surgery, hospital, and lab, is making the same rate as you.
Yeah, anytime you've got a mismatch, it's okay to raise your hand and say, even if it's off cycle, say, hey, this is not right, this is not fair. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to go out and automatically boost you, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, what you can expect in terms of an answer when you do ask for a raise or promotion. But at least it's okay to ask at those times. So, typically you want to stick to the annual review cycle, know your company's review cycle, and know when those discussions are happening about promotion and raises, so you can get in early. For promotion, don't be afraid of raising your hand and tipping your hand early. There's no, business is not about mystery. You're not writing a mystery novel or reading a mystery novel here when you're in business. Be transparent, be open about your ambition and what you want to get. And let your boss know, and let your other managers, the hiring managers for whatever positions you're interested, know, hey, I'm interested in these positions. You're not going to get, probably not going to get most of them, but you're going to get some of them. And so, get out there and do your thing. And then for raises, again, if you're underpaid relative to peers, or you've done an exceptional job, then there's some leverage that you have, and it would be appropriate at that point to ask for some additional compensation and consideration. So.
And that brings us very nicely into, how do I do it?
Yeah, what does that discussion look like? Well,
do I just swing open the door of the manager's office and go, pay me more?
Pay me more, yeah. So like all business meetings, this is no different than making a presentation. I mean, you're not going to get the PowerPoint screen up and do something quite as formal, but it is still a presentation. You're presenting an idea, you're presenting a concept, you're presenting a desire to your managers, and you need to take that seriously. So the first thing is prepare. The more detail you can give to your preparation, the stronger your case is going to be. and the more confident you can be in presenting your pay. So, research the qualifications and compensation ranges for your position and experience, whether it's the one you're in now, like you're asking for a raise, or the one that you want. So you're asking for a promotion. Understand what that's going to mean. What you're getting paid, what your responsibilities are, but research what it is that you're going to be asking for. Make your case with numbers and examples as much as you can. You need to make this tangible to people. And the best way you can do that is bring out your performance reviews and your ratings that show you to be above average performer. Hey, I'm documenting that I am an above average performer for you. Quantify the impact of your projects. I finished this, I did this project that I was responsible for, and it led to a 12% increase in sales and a 42% increase in retention, client retention. Throw those numbers in there and let people know, hey, I have made a positive impact on this business. On the things you've asked me to do, I have done it, and I have measured the impact, and I'm claiming that responsibility. I'm taking that accountability and responsibility for me. I was the one who drove those results. And so bring numbers in, as the numbers will only make your case stronger, and the more depth you can bring to those numbers, the more confident you'll be when it comes to asking for this. For promotion, it's not just about what you've done, it's about what you're going to do, right? When you go to the next job, they don't want you to do what you've been doing. They want you to do different things. If they wanted you to continue to do what you've been doing, they would keep you in the same job. So when you're asking for a promotion, you're raising your hand and saying, hey, I think I can do more. I think I can do different. I think I can do something differently. And that's going to put pressure on you, right? I mean, you're asking for more things and you're saying, I think I can do this. And so you're inviting more pressure on yourself. But talk about your future, how you see your future with the organization you're with. What intangible things can you bring? You showed numbers about what it is that you've done, but now show the intangible things, the commitment. Hey, I'm here. I'm a team player. I'm here to support you. I'm here to support our management team. I'm here to get these things done for our company. I believe in the mission of the company, and give examples about how you behave that shows that you're aligned with the company's purpose and its strategies. So recommit or make clear your commitment to the organization, because promotion, especially, they're making a bet on you, and they're going to feel more comfortable if you're totally committed to the direction the company's going and to the organization overall. For a raise, propose a specific number. Have a number in mind, because you're going to go in and they're going to, you can make this great case and then just turn it over to them and say, what's that worth to you? And now you've given the power, you've given the expectation back to the boss and the manager, and you don't want to do that. What you want to do is go in and say, and I'm giving you the numbers, I'm telling you my commitment, and this is what I'm looking for. So make sure you close the loop with an ask. Say, I would like an extra $1.50 an hour. Now, you may not get it, but you need to lay out what your expectations are, what you're hoping to get, right? And then game plan what you're willing to accept. I mean, you can go in with, I want $1.50 more an hour if you're looking for a raise here, and note in your mind, if I get half that, if I get 75 cents, I'll be happy with that. Or say, I need to get at least $1, or I'm not going to be happy, and this will affect how I think about my job. So prepare ahead of time, lay out both quantitatively and qualitatively the value that you create for the organization, get a specific thing in mind and a number in mind, and know what is non-negotiable. What is the minimum that you need to accept, and then you're ready, right? So that's the preparation side. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Did you do that when you were preparing for your conversation?
Kind of. I had some talks about when I was talking. I led with, hey, my rent's going up, to be completely honest, and be like, I need this, or I'm not going to be able to stay. But then also, like, you're training me in surgery, and you're still paying me what I've made when I was just in rooms. And I was like, and I want to stay here. Like, I don't want to leave. Was what I made very clear. Was like, I'm comfortable here. I know the doctors. I know the workflow. I know how everything works. I know the patients. Like, I want to be here, but in order to stay. And then I also, I remember when she asked, she was like, how much do you need? And I was like, ideally, and gave her my top number. And she was like, that might be rough. And I was like, minimum this number. So
yeah, I would have recommended not giving her the minimum number and
she
just say,
asked what the minimum was because she was kind of like, I'm going to try to get you the big one. But she was like, it's going to be really hard. And I was like, okay, but like, I need at least this in order to stay. But
yeah.
like,
So next time, put it on her. If she says, I can't get that, say, well, how much can you get? As opposed to you giving the minimum.
Right.
And then if it's still not at your minimum, say, I need at least this. And then you can lay it out that way. Don't be afraid to put pressure, in a sense, on your manager. Don't be afraid to ask questions and try to keep from giving, because I can guarantee you that if they know what your minimum is, that's where you're going to be, because they've got a lot of mouths to feed, and they're going to want to keep their budgets as intact as they can, and so they will give you the minimum. So if you can avoid telling them what your minimum is, you should know it, but you shouldn't share it. It's totally appropriate to say, well, if you can't give me what I'm asking for, what can you give me? And then hopefully that's higher than your minimum. If it's not, then it's time to say, yeah, that's not going to, I'm going to need at least this. And then you've had the negotiation that's right. And either they can deliver it or not. Right. Does that make sense?
yes, sure does.
Yeah. So then the next thing, in terms of how do you ask for a raise, the next thing is practice it. Do role playing. Get your friends, get your mentor, get your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and say, sit down and go through this 3, 4, 5, 6 times, each time with them, giving you a different feedback. The first one can be really supportive, like, oh yeah, no, you're doing a great job and I'm totally on board with that. And the next one can be, yeah, we're not seeing the same thing here. I don't believe it. And all kinds of things in between, right? Well, I appreciate you, but I don't know that I can do that right now. Or, I'm not sure. How about we talk about this in another 6 months? I mean, all of those things, so that you get used to talking these things through, because practice does help a lot when you're sitting there in the moment, having the discussions. You want to be, you want to have had gone through it and practice saying these things a few times. And then when it's time, when you feel like you're confident enough that you've got your message down, then schedule a meeting and be transparent about it. One topic. Don't make this part of an ongoing one-on-one where you're covering a lot of different things. You schedule a specific meeting to talk about this specific thing and nothing else. And again, it's not a mystery novel. It's, hey, I want to talk about career opportunities, or I want to talk about compensation, or whatever. Let your manager know this is what we're going to be talking about, because that allows them to prepare mentally as well. And so that you're not trying to fool anybody. You're not trying to spring a surprise on anybody. You're going to want a dispassionate discussion about this, and the best way you can prepare for that is to be clear about what it is that you're asking. So then during the meeting, it's your meeting, remember, you're the one who's asking it. So you're in control of the agenda. You start off with an objective. Hey, I just want to sit down and talk with you about a possibility for a raise or a possibility for a promotion. And you're laying it right out there, right off the bat. And you're not saying I'm demanding a promotion. You're saying I want to explore opportunities for a promotion, or an opportunity for a raise. Present your case quickly and with confidence. You don't need to go into a lot of minutia. It helps if you got like a one-page thing that sort of summarizes your talking points, and feel free to share that with your manager if you want, that quantifies it, and say, here's my quantifications of the things I've done, and here's my the qualitative pieces as well of why I think I'm a good fit for the promotion, or why I think I deserve the raise. And then listen carefully for feedback. This is really important, because especially experienced managers have all kinds of ways of talking, and they're telling you things, but they're not going to be candid. Usually, they're not going to be as candid as perhaps you would like. So listen carefully to what they're saying. Most of them are not going to be in a position to give you an immediate answer, because they don't make the ultimate decision. It has to go through layers of approval. It has to be benchmarked. HR is going to be benchmarking against other people, and they have salary ranges, and they have promotional increases, and they have what are appropriate raises and extra bonuses. There's all kinds of policies for this, because they have to treat their employees fairly and equitably, and they have to have time to kind of run through that with you, and what you're asking. So it'd be very unusual for you to get an immediate yes or no. And if you do get an immediate yes, that means they've already talked about it. They knew this was coming and they've just been waiting. Or there's something else going on there. They were tipped that you were going to be asking, and they don't want to lose you, so they're going to meet you, with your numbers. Or if they say no, then that could be for a lot of reasons, partly due to your performance, partly due to your personality and fit, partly due, it could be all of that, or it could just be, they just got told we're cutting budgets and there's no money for any raises or promotions. And so, that's not really in your hands. It's not your responsibility or fault, but that's a reality of corporate life too. And so if I'm going to say 90% of the time, 95% of the time, you're not going to hear in that meeting, you're not going to get an answer, but you will get a sense for how much your boss and your manager is supportive of you. If they're really kind of hesitant, don't want to engage, and they're kind of hemming and hawing, it's going to be a tougher sell, because what they're doing.
I had a comment on that, but I think my dinner is burning, so I'll be right back.
All right, pull that out.
That smells like fire.
These are the awkward family conversations when Addie has to yell at her cat and get dinner out of the oven. So
that's all the awkwards tonight. It's a little toasty.
All right.
But it's fine.
What are you having for dinner?
Roasted chickpeas and rice.
Ah, the vegan feast.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, listen carefully for the feedback. If you're getting positive reinforcement from your boss, if your boss is nodding or agreeing that, yeah, you have done these things, that's much better sign than if, the boss is sitting there with the
moment.
And we've set off the smoke alarm in Addie's apartment.
Yep. It's a very easily angered alarm.
I see.
It's not even like smoky, it's fine.
Yes. So anyway, if the if the boss is sitting back with the arms crossed and not making eye contact and saying things like, oh, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do anything, then that's going to be less that's less optimistic. So but listen carefully for feedback and try to and feel free to take notes during the meeting too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting that so you can reflect on it later, but anything your boss says, make sure you make a note of it or remember it and try to catalog it, because
reasons I do appreciate my boss is she said that she gave me a timeline of when she was going to talk to her boss, and then also was like, if I can't make it happen, how long do I have till I lose you because I'm going to die?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Well, that's good. And that's the next thing is if they don't tell you that timeline, you ask for it. When can I expect, maybe not a decision, but when can I expect some feedback?
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that you get that timing down, and it becomes important in your follow-up, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But then the last thing you need to do is thank your boss. Thank your boss for the time and attention that that they're spending. You want to be appreciative, because these conversations are not a lot of fun for the boss either. And you want to make sure that you're acknowledging that they're taking the time to have a serious conversation about your career with you. So make sure you express your appreciation as you end the meeting. And then follow up. You've got a sense of timing, and what are the, you may have a sense for what some of the issues are that they need to work through to consider your request. So when it comes time, you could also send an email thanking your boss. If you've done it in person, you don't need to do that. But if you forget, if you leave the meeting and haven't thanked your boss, then it's totally appropriate to write an email back and say, hey, thanks again. But then you also want to follow up. If the boss doesn't follow up in the timing that you guys discussed, totally appropriate to give a day or two and then follow up yourself and say, hey, just checking in. We had discussed that it would be available on Thursday. It's now Monday. I'm wondering if you've heard anything about the promotion or the raise that we discussed. So that's kind of how you do it. You want to keep it very professional. You want to make it a presentation. What you're presenting is your case for either the promotion or the raise. You want to be respectful, understand that company processes around these types of decisions take time often, and you want to acknowledge that. You want to appreciate, the time that your manager spent talking with you, and then and then follow up until you get an answer. Did that answer the question?
It did.
Okay.
It kind of half answered the next question too, which is what kind of outcome should I expect? But I feel like you went over the timeline and what the options were, and
yeah. So you're gonna have to wait. you're going to have to wait for a decision most cases. They're not going to be able to give it to you on the spot or even within a day or two. They're going to have to go to their boss. They're going to have to go to their HR colleagues. You know, they're going to have to go around with maybe your peers to see, geez, if we promote Addie, is that going to create any problems on anybody else's teams? You know, especially the larger the organizations are, the more these equity discussions have to happen. And there's a lot of moving parts to them in a large organization. And so it will take time. But it shouldn't take more than a couple of weeks. I mean, within a week, you should have a sense, and within a couple of weeks, you should have a definitive answer. They should be able to work through their internal processes in that kind of time frame. So you should expect a decision within a couple of weeks. You know, there's a bunch of possible outcomes. You know, the best one is they say, yes, we're going to, you know, we'll give you the promotion you want. We'll give you the raise you want. That does happen. It doesn't happen all the time or even often, but it does happen. The other thing they can say is no. One of the other things is, you know, they're either, and it could, again, it could be a, you know, yes is, we see your value, we agree with your value. In fact, we may even overvalue what you think, but we're going to give it to you because we want to keep you. No could be, we don't see value in you, or it could be, we just don't have any money to do that. Either way, they should be transparent, right? It should be, hey, this is why we're doing it. They should tell you, if they tell you no, or even if they tell you yes, they should be able to tell you why. And that's fair. And you should expect to see that and hear that. So you got yes, you got no. Then we introduce time. You could get, yes, we'll give you what you want, but not right now, because we have to wait till the new budget year comes in. So in 6 months or 3 months or 4 months, whatever that timing is, that's going to be the, you know, that's when we're going to be able to do what you want. So we're on board with you, but not in the timing, not immediately. So that's possible. The other thing is that they say, no, we're not going to give it to you. We're not going to give this to you, but let's revisit this down the line, which just says we haven't seen enough data points for us to be able to be comfortable making the decision. I want to see more from you. So I'm telling you no right now. We're not going to give you a raise or promotion right now, but I'm willing to revisit this 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, or at our annual review cycle. Now, if you're in your annual review cycle and they tell you we're going to wait till your next annual review cycle, that's not good. But, and you can say, well, how about if we, if they say no, then you can come back with, if they give you the hard no, they can come back with, can we revisit this in 3 months? And maybe they say yes, and maybe they say, well, how about 6 months or whatever. I mean, the negotiation doesn't end with the answer no. You can always come back and talk about time as, okay, well, you're saying no right now, and I accept that, but when can we talk about this again? And maybe you don't even tell them 3 months, you just ask them when they'd be comfortable to talk to you about it. And it turns into a no, but let's talk about it later. And then there's kind of the last one, which is kind of the half a baby or the split loaf or whatever you want to do. Yes to some of what you say. We do agree that that you are deserving in more compensation, but we're not going to give you a raise. What we'll do is we'll give you a bonus instead, a one-time payment instead. We appreciate what you're doing. We think that you're on the track for promotion. We're not going to give that to you yet, but we will give you a little bit more responsibilities of different kinds to see how you do, and then we'll revisit it. And we'll give you a little bit more money. So we'll give you kind of a half promotion. We won't give you the full title, but we'll give you more of the job, and that makes you, gives you a chance to prove yourself more. So there's, you've got the all, you got the nothing, and then you got a lot of stuff in between. And then you also have the time element of not now, but later kind of thing. So those are kind of the potential outcomes, when it comes to it. And I would reiterate that your performance definitely matters. How you perform and how you show up matters a lot. But there's also a lot of other factors that go into this, especially in larger organizations, because again, they have to show that they're treating all of their employees the same. And so they're going to be very aware and very conscious of decisions that might impact badly on, the rest of, on the metrics that they have to report to, the various regulators that look at these kind of things, or if there's a legal action around an employment thing. All this stuff is discoverable, and so they have to avoid the impression of sweetheart deals, and so they have to spend time, sort of sorting through that. There's also budgetary concerns. You don't know about reorganizations. There could be reorganizations being discussed, mergers and acquisitions, or sales of units. There's all kinds of things where that are not your performance related that could affect the company's ability to give you a raise or a promotion in the kind of time you're looking at. So, listen to when they come back and with the outcome, whatever the answer is, listen to what they say. Even if it's yes, maybe you left too much, maybe you left on something on the table. There may be more opportunity, right? I mean, if they're willing to give you everything you asked for, there might be more there. There might not be, but what are the odds that you got the exact number and the exact thing that they were willing to give you the first time without a lot of insight? Probably not very high. So if they tell you yes, listen to what they say, and then see, try to do an assessment to say, well, maybe there's another opportunity, maybe 6 months from now, to ask for a little bit more, to go back for another bite at the apple. If they say no, listen closely. Is it about me? Is it about my unit? Is it about how I'm perceived? Is it about extraneous factors like budgets or reorganizations? Is there something timing wise in terms of strategy? Are they keeping me back for another reason? They're keeping me in reserve. I mean, we've had positions where somebody said, hey, I'd like a promotion. And we're kind of like, you're the next guy up, but we have you in mind for this other job because we know that it's opening up, and I don't want to promote you into this role because it's not going to be enough for you. And so they may or may not feel comfortable telling people that. Depends on the organization, but that has happened in my experience where we've had that kind of situation where somebody raised their hand and we're like, ooh, I don't want to put you in that position because I got you in mind for a different position. And so, those are, listen very carefully to what they're telling you. Don't just shut down if you get a no or a not yet. Don't shut down and get angry. Listen. There's always information there to be heard. And then consider your response carefully, right? I mean, we talked about setting your minimum expectations and things like that. If you don't get what you want, it's tempting to just sort of throw in the towel, quit, get angry, say, screw this, they don't appreciate me, I'm going. That's not going to really help you very much in the long run. You want, as a professional, you're getting paid to do a job. If they're not paying you what you think you're worth, go out and find somebody who will. And that's, living well is the best revenge. If somebody's not paying you what you think you deserve, don't quit. Don't stomp off in a huff. That can be negative. There's a lot of bad applications there. Accept the answer. You made the case. They made their decision. And now it's up to you to make a decision. And if you decide, you know what, I'm going to look elsewhere, then aggressively pursue a different job. And when it's time, move on and do it without guilt or any kind of you don't let it bother your conscience. So, that's what you can expect in terms of an outcome. There's a variety of ways it can go. There's a variety of reasons for each of those decisions. But listen, when they do tell you the decision, listen to it very carefully because it will tell you a lot. And then, be very careful and thorough and intentional about how you respond to those kind of situations. Because I tell you that bosses will recognize if they're telling you no, or if they're not giving everything you ask for, they're recognizing that there's a risk there now. And they could be mitigating that risk by trying to move you out of the way so that your departure wouldn't be so impactful. But if you're professional about it, you tell them, thank you, appreciate it. They'd be transparent about what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. They'll appreciate that. They'll appreciate that as well. So anyway, does that make sense? Is that feeling? Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Anything else that you're dying to know about promotions and raises? All right, then. I guess we'll leave it there. Did we have any Venmo items?
I've got to turn myself in. I did say I got to pay my not dang rent at the beginning of this.
Well, that's fair. I did use the bastard term earlier, so maybe that works its way out as an even.
All right, we'll call it even on that one.
Because I feel like damn and bastard are not. I mean, they're sort of, but they're mild. So since we both kind of offended, maybe we'll call it even.
Sounds good.
All right. Do we have any research items? I don't think we do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's our topic for next week then?
For next week, and this is one that I need an answer to, is what should I do if I'm burning out at work?
What should you do if you're burning out at work? That's going to be a good one. That's an interesting one.
Hard one.
Yeah, very good.
Because I don't know. But in the meantime, you can find us on awkwardfamilyconversations.com, on Twitter, and awkwardfamilyc1, on YouTube, Facebook, and yeah, it's just YouTube and Facebook or our social medias, YouTube for the video. And then on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and Awkward Family Conversations. And of course, if you like it, we would like you to subscribe, rate, review in that order.
Yes.
And let us know what you think. Keep the questions and suggestions coming. If you have a criticism, maybe don't review us.
No,
text
we
us.
want feedback. Tell us what we can do.
Just
And if
like, just like comment. You don't need to put it on a review.
Well, fair. But but let's let's also start soliciting season 4 topics. So if you've got something that you want us to discuss, let us know, because we're starting to put together season 4 topics. So all right, my love. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, talk to you next week.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Love you.
Love you too.